Hello, I'm Viv Bennett, Chief Nurse at Public Health England and the Best Start in Life programme lead. We're here today to talk about giving every child the best start in life, and with me here are Dr Helen Bedford, Senior Lecturer at UCL Institute of Child Health, Councillor Jonathan McShane, Chair of Hackney Health and Wellbeing Board, and Claire Rees, Senior Parliamentary Researcher and Executive Director of the Parent-Infant Partnership. Thank you. What happens in pregnancy and the early childhood affects physical and emotional health through childhood and in impacting into adulthood. A healthy start to life and positive early experiences are therefore vital to ensure that children are ready to learn, ready for school and have good life chances. The heart of public health services for children and families, bringing together the evidence on delivering good health, wellbeing and resilience for each child, is the Healthy Child programme. So Helen, could we start with you? Could you remind us of the key elements of the Healthy Child programme, please?
Yes, Viv. The Healthy Child programme, which is led by health visitors, sets out the schedule for services covering care for families and children from 28 weeks pregnancy up to 5 years of age. And it provides a range of services to families covering screening of the infant, immunisation during pregnancy and childhood, health and development reviews, and advice and support for families to help children's physical and emotional development with early and additional interventions where they're needed. A key feature of the Healthy Child programme is a series of universal health and developmental reviews. These take place at 28 weeks of pregnancy, within 14 days of birth, at 6 to 8 weeks of age, 9 to 12 months, and at 2 to 2.5 years. And as well as ensuring regular assessment of children's development to ensure that they're developing healthily and to identify children falling behind, these reviews are an opportunity to share their concerns, families' concerns with health professionals, and to provide evidence-based interventions and advice on a whole range of health issues.
Thank you very much, Helen. Claire, you've been involved in shaping the early years agenda in Parliament with the 1001 Critical Days Manifesto. Could you tell us a bit about it and give us an overview of what's happening?
So the 1001 Critical Days Manifesto highlights the importance of the conception to age 2 period, and it was founded by Andrea Leadsom MP and Frank Field as co-founders to cover essentially cross-party for parties. The progress that's been made since is, for example, Public Health England have adopted the terminology for conception to age 2 as first 1001 days, and it's become quite present in many professionals, policymakers and parents' minds throughout the country of the importance of a conception to age 2. It highlights why we need universal, seamless and holistic services from conception to age 2, because giving every baby the best possible start in life matters not just for physical but for emotional health, to lay the foundations of good social and emotional well-being, which contributes to school readiness, future learning and a good basis for mental health, which we know matters to have relationships.
Thank you. So Jonathan, talking about the things that matter at the start of life, they are now commissioned by local authorities, and you've got first-hand experience of this commissioning. So I wonder if you could tell us a bit about the factors that you take into consideration when making decisions about how to invest to give our children the best start.
So obviously responsibility for 0 to 5 public health services transferred to local authorities in October last year, and there was a lot of planning leading up to that. So that's the Healthy Child programme, but also family nurse partnership work. And I think the big opportunity there was to look at young people from 0 to 19, and how can you deliver design and deliver a service that supports people throughout that period, but also how do you design and deliver a service that really meets the needs of your local area. And every area will be different, and Hackney, for example, has a very high birth rate. It's still a deprived borough, although that's changing quite quickly. It's incredibly diverse, so lots of families where English isn't a first language. So how do you design a service in that context that meets those needs? And when we looked at, when we did a needs assessment, some of the issues that came forward from professionals were that we needed more continuity of care. I think they recognised that. They needed services to be delivered from more accessible locations rather than where they'd always been delivered. And there needed to be more referrals to multi-agency teams on safeguarding issues from primary care. And from parents, again, continuity of care. People wanted to see the same people when getting advice about their child, and they wanted consistent information. That was really important. And finally, they wanted better engagement with dads, and it's encouraging. They wanted to be involved. But what does that mean about our practice if we're going to do that really effectively?
Thank you. To return to physical health for a moment, if I might, Helen, we know that immunisation is very, very important to protect our children against illness, and I know that at UCL Institute you've undertaken quite a lot of research around our childhood immunisation programme. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about it and where we are.
Yes, of course. The childhood immunisation programme in England is very successful, with over 96% of 2-year-olds fully immunised with their primary vaccines that are given in the first year, and 93% of children are protected against measles, mumps and rubella at 2 years of age, and that's after a decade of low uptake, and we've restored uptake, which is very pleasing. There is another programme where there is some room for improvement though, and that's the Vaccination in Pregnancy programme, and we currently offer 2 vaccines to pregnant women, flu and whooping cough vaccine, and these are both offered to protect women themselves but also to protect their newborns against serious disease. And uptake could be improved for both those vaccines, but what we know from research is that what women want is a recommendation to have the vaccine from their midwives. So clearly this is a very important area to put more work into. Returning to the childhood immunisation programme, although our overall uptake rates are very, very good, there are pockets of poorer uptake in some areas. These high rates mask these lower uptake areas. And we know that children who are at risk of lower uptake are children who are disadvantaged. They may have difficulties accessing services, or they may have health problems. They may be hospitalised or have disabilities. Sometimes there's confusion over contraindications for these children when actually there are very few valid contraindications. And of course, a minority of parents, only about 1%, will reject immunisation because they feel it isn't safe or effective. And another group of parents, a lot of parents in fact, have questions or concerns about vaccination, which isn't surprising given the complexity of the immunisation course. We've recently had another vaccine added to the schedule. But what we know very clearly from research and from practice is that if you have health professionals who are well informed about immunisation and who parents trust, they're much more likely to listen to their advice about immunisation. So of course it's important, this underlines the importance of training for health professionals so that they're well equipped to answer these often very complex questions.
Thank you very much, Helen. Jonathan, earlier on we were talking about the Healthy Child programme and these important set of child health reviews to check on children's development and to have conversations with their parents about supporting them. And we know that a very important review is the one at 2 to 2.5, because if a child is falling behind at 2 to 2.5, it's really important to offer extra support and intervention to make sure that the child is ready to start school at 5. One of the things we also know is that the uptake of the 2-year review is quite variable and can be quite low in areas where there are deprived communities. And I know this is something you've looked at in Hackney with and had some success. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, sure. So in 2009, take up of the 2 to 2.5 year check was only 23% in Hackney, so it sort of followed that pattern you've just described. And only 35% of children at that time had a good level of development at 2 to 2.5 years of age. So that was obviously very worrying, and it's in the context of quite dramatic changes, quite dramatic improvements in education at primary and secondary level. So we wanted to make sure that we were allowing, we wanted children starting school, with much better schools than before, in the best possible position to take advantage of that. So we developed what we called a 27-month integrated review. So it was a single meeting, which we were told by parents was important, with a link health professional, an early years practitioner, the parents and the child. So that and additional work around it has meant there's been quite a dramatic improvement. So in 2014, the take-up of the 2 to 2.5 year check had increased by 63%. And in 2014, 65% of children had a good level of development, so a 30% increase. So more and more children are in a position to take advantage of the really good offer we had in primary and secondary school.
That's a really significant improvement in a relatively short space of time. That's really interesting. Thank you. And thank you everyone. So we've heard about the Healthy Child programme as being at the heart of our public health services for children. We've heard about how investment is very important to give our children the best start, investing in things like immunisation, in supporting strong parent and baby attachment, in commissioning for local communities to have the right services. We've heard about the work going on in Parliament around these very, very critical early days in life. So please do look at Health Matters. We have a lot of information available for you to help in your work, whether that's in practice, in providing or in commissioning. Lots of practical tools, blogs and case studies, and thank you very much for your time in watching.